Okay, as advertised, I want to go over this week's quiz 12. Um, Follow along with this, should be fairly easy. Looking at, again, unemployment and inflation. Like, these are just building blocks, unemployment and inflation, to look at the whole macroeconomic question. Um, because it's what the federal government does, what the Federal Reserve does. Uh, Basically, they want to increase employment but not have inflation or not have deflation. Um, so it's just a useful chapter, and again, for most people's papers, because most people's economic papers talks about hopefully people getting a job and helping the economy in one way or the other. So here, this first question: when an economy is at full employment, and again, full employment, there's still, again, people unemployed, right? Still about 5% unemployment is natural unemployment. There's only cyclical, again, cyclical unemployment when there's a downturn in the economy. People lose their jobs like they did in 2008. But of course, at full employment, there's also going to be frictional unemployment. And again, take a look at the textbook about frictional unemployment. There'll be another question coming up here with it. So, of course, that's got to be false. Let me check my answer. Yeah, okay, I'm correct. Let me move on. When iPods and MP3 players came on the scene, replacing CDs, again, what type or types of unemployment were created? Um, and again, this is nothing to do with cyclical, right? Because basically here's a change in technology. So I'm going to ignore this one. Cyclical, basically. So it's this one here, structural and frictional. Again, structural, there needs new training. There's new technology, so you need people with that training, that technology to create these new products. So it's structural and fictional, because people that lose their jobs with the MP3 players, it takes a while before they to get a job in the CDs. So that better be the correct one. And yes, I'm so hot today with these things. So far, no problems, but it's early yet. Let me go next. Long-term effects of unemployment, right? Well, you may expect individuals who are unemployed in their 20s. So they don't have a job in their 20s. Right? They have lower wages at the age of 40 than individuals with identical education backgrounds who are not unemployed. So there's two people in their 40s, right? The ones that have been employed the whole time, and then the ones that didn't work in their 20s. So let's see, while unemployed workers face financial hardships, yeah, well, that again has really nothing to do with the current job situation. Um, while unemployed workers received unemployment insurance, I have no idea what that would be. While unemployed workers lose some of their skills. Again, even if you have the educational background, you don't keep up with things. I've lost my skill. I used to be the computer consultant at one time, but I'd have a hard time getting a job like that again, but I probably could. But it'd be a lot more difficult because I haven't kept up with my skills. Let me check my answer. Yeah, I'm okay. Let me go to the next one. Economists believe, all economists, I don't know, let's see. CPI, again, the Consumer Price Index, and they take a look at a basket of goods and compare their prices one month to the next, tends to underestimate the increase in the cost of living over time. Actually, most economists believe that the CPI overestimates it. So this would be false. Let me check my answer. Yes, that's correct. Because this is a question, I'm going to ask this question on the final, because it's a question for Social Security nowadays. Again, Social Security is running out of money. And one idea to uh, make it last longer is, instead of using the CPI, because again, most economists say that this basically overestimates the cost of living, they should use the chained price index to look at the increases in Social Security benefits. Because each month, or no, it's not each month, but I think it's each quarter, Social Security will go up depending on the cost of living increase. So if they use CPI, it's a higher inflation rate. But if you use a chained price index, and what that is, chain price index is like my parents, they're on their fixed income, Social Security. If prices go up again for the price of beef, they'll switch to a cheaper substitute, like chicken. So a chain priced index will look at the substitution effect that you can use. They don't starve, they just go to a cheaper good. It's a very debatable point, and old people vote, so generally it's hard to get that to be changed, though. All right, I'm going next. The single largest component of a basket of goods that comprise the CPI, again, the CPI looks at the basket of goods, and again, this is rent. I think the homework had the same question. It's always the biggest part is rent. If you have a budget right now and you're paying for your own apartment, you obviously know that. All right, should I check my answer? Yeah, that's okay. Next, some math. So if the price for a load of bread in 1940 was 8 cents, and it was $3.59 in 2010, what's the percent rate of change? Percent change. We should remember this from elasticity, right? The old famous new minus old divided by old. So let's see, 8 cents and 3.59. Let me go to my Excel. Let me do O's because I don't have a calculator. I always use Excel. The new, I think it was 3.59, right? What's the percent change? And this will be a bunch of times on the final. I'm going to have a couple of these questions, elasticity and this looking at inflation. New minus the old divided by the old. It's not that hard. Great. I got to make this a percent. And I think they want it as 1 decimal place in the textbook, and in my Econ Lab. So 4387.5. Let me go back. What did I say? 4387.5, I believe it was. Let me check my answer, and yeah, that's correct. So bring your calculators for the final. There'll be a bunch of it's percent change, right? Everyone should know that. Let me go to my next one. Calculating an inflation rate. The country reports a price index of 50 in 2005 and 60 in 2006. What's the inflation rate? What could I do? What formula could work here? I go back to here. My new is 60. My old is 50. And it's a 20% change, right? Let me go back here with 1 decimal place. All right, 20.0. Let me check my answers. Right, so you might get different numbers on yours, so make sure you have your calculator when you want to do this, or Excel. Let me go to the next one. Creditors lose from unanticipated inflation. This is very simple. I asked one of you students for a loan, which would be extremely inappropriate, but let me borrow $100 and I'll pay you $110 next year. So you give me $100 today, and then inflation goes out of control and goes up 20% for the year. So basically, I should pay you 120% next year, and then you'd still be making no interest off your money. So yeah, you lose from unanticipated inflation. It's a risk that banks take. Let me check my answer. Yeah, that's correct. Let me go next. Hyperinflation occurs when inflation rate exceeds, and this is in the textbook, it exceeds 50%. And this rarely happens. It's happened twice in my lifetime, and I happen to be in the one country that was having hyperinflation. I was in Yugoslavia, and it was an interesting vacation when prices are going out of control. You exchange your money, US dollars, and you get millions of dollars in, I think it was dinar, the Yugoslavian currency. where I return a Coke bottle for the deposit, and I get a stack of bills that are like an inch thick, literally, hundreds of bills for just the few cents to return a Coke bottle. And of course, you know, I was on a bicycle trip with some friends. We just threw it in the trash can. It's worthless money. No coin money at hyperinflation because it's a lot cheaper to print paper, and the paper's like monopoly money. But anyway, hopefully we don't see any more hyperinflation again. So I think I'm done. Let me check my answer on this one. Yeah, of course I'm correct on that one again. Let's hope I am, or I shouldn't be teaching this course. So again, you should be looking at your papers, the research papers. I put a folder in Blackboard called, I think, Research Paper Links, and it has a bunch of links for different articles that I've been reading. And again, if you look at the articles I have, especially some from the New York Times, it would pay to look at the sources that the Times cites for their data. Go directly to those sources and then find the data. Go to the CQ Researcher database in the LIM, Electronic Research Library, is a good source for information. They have a lot of graphs that you can copy and paste into your document. But any questions, just email me. I am around. But again, look at that folder in Blackboard for research project links. I think I have something for most people in there.